Hey, Clint. Just wondering, how far along differently is it this year for you guys offensively than it was last year with so much, kind of influx and the Zoom meetings and everything else and being able to get out there? Just how much farther along is the offense now than it was then?
Yeah, I think we are farther along just because we can physically do it. You can't replicate physical reps. So um, our guys really put a lot of hard work in, this last month. Really proud of their effort. They didn't have to be here and they chose to come and grind and get better and, really come together as teammates too, which is probably the most important thing. So couldn't be happier with the work they put in.
Courtney, then Eric.
Hey, Clint. Hey, Clint. As you know, it's hard for football coaches once they step away from the game to truly remove themselves from the game. I'm wondering, just with Gary, I mean, what has this been like for him these last couple months of him retiring and you still being with the team that he was just with?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's kept his distance. He has been keeping himself really busy in Texas. I think right now he's going to College World Series to see my uncle. Uncle coaches at Texas to go watch them play. So he's busy, but we talking all the time, and he certainly cares about our players and our coaching staff, and is really invested in what we're doing. So I'm keeping him up on those things, but he has done an excellent job of staying away, which I am very shocked at.
I was just wondering, kind of, because I know Kyle Shanahan had talked about, like, throughout the draft process, talking with Mike about quarterbacks and what he needed for his franchise. Is that something going into your first year as a play caller in the NFL? Like, do you think you'll lean on Gary for being able, like, even like in week stuff? Is that like a phone call? Is that something that you're able to do with him virtually if he's not in Minnesota? Things like that.
I've been doing it my whole life. It's not going to stop now. Certainly, we'll definitely rely on him and value his input and seek it daily.
Eric, then Andrew.
Hey, Clint, just wanted to get your take on the three quarterbacks behind Kirk. What's sort of your assessment of how they did this spring, and what do you kind of envision for them in camp in the preseason?
Really competitive group. First of all, I want to single out Coach Andrew Janoko, who's really been a tireless worker, getting those guys ready for practice every day, and Jake Browning, Nate Stanley, and Kellen Mond have really competed hard against each other. It's a very intelligent room, so it's competitive physically, but those guys compete mentally, and who can have the quickest answer, who knows the answer the fastest, who can kind of think of the worst thing that could possibly happen on this play and how we're going to fix it before it ever starts. So I love that room. It's a great room. Individually, their performance, Jake Browning, I think, had a tremendous camp, made a lot of great decisions, a lot of great throws. Nate Stanley, he impressed as well. He's come a long way. He did not get a preseason game last year, so he's chomping at the bit for that opportunity this year. And then Kellen Mond certainly has put in a lot of work since he got here and has come a long way in these few weeks. The guy's a tireless worker, and he has to be, because he's got to keep up with those guys ahead of him.
Andrew, then Ben.
Yeah, Clint, in the same vein, I wanted to ask you just about the depth at wide receiver. I know these spring practices kind of resemble more of a passing camp. What stood out to you about those young guys and just the competition you're expecting here later this summer?
Yeah, there's a lot of competition. That's great. So they're all making each other better. The veterans are, exceeding expectations, and there's some young guys that are really pushing them. I think Coach Keenan McCardell, has done a phenomenal job with these rookies, getting them ready to compete, because it's a lot we throw at them, and they can't go show what they can do physically until they get it mentally. And he's here after hours with those guys. So really appreciate all the work he's put in, as well as Christian Jones, his assistant. Those guys are studs. But our team's gonna be better because of the skill that Rick Spielman has brought into this building, and just look forward to see who comes out on top in the fall.
Ben, then Hobie.
And I know he's been limited a little bit as he's come back from that surgery, but what have your impressions been of Christian Darrisaw in the offseason here, and what's the thing that he'll need to do to kind of get ready for the season into training camp? What's the big coaching point for him?
Yeah, he's exceeded expectations because he's very bright. He puts in the work. He takes the coaching points from Coach Dennison and Rauscher, And when he's been out there, he's taken it to the field. So he just has to get more reps. Reps are key. And he missed a few of them, but he's going to get them back. We're going to get our monies out of him come fall camp. So he just needs to go do it against the best pass rushers in the world. So he's going to see Danielle Hunter every day. That's going to really help him get better.
Hobie, then Chris.
Yeah, Clint, a lot of what you've been doing as an offensive coordinator before these last few weeks has been kind of like this Zoom virtual type of stuff. I just want to know how much more comfortable are you now in this role that you're in right now whenever you can actually get on the field and kind of coach these guys up in person?
Yeah, it's been huge to have that on-field experience. But again, I can't say enough about the coaching staff I work with and the players that I'm coaching. I mean, this group of players is special. These are veteran guys that are mature. They care about football. Preparation's important to them. And when your best players operate that way, it rubs off on the young guys. So they make my job easier. The veteran coaches I work with every day are so prepared and so professional. And it just allows me, to not have to worry about so many things. So I just really blessed to be able to work with such great people, and I appreciate the staff that we're surrounded with.
Chris, then
Yeah,
Courtney.
hey, Mike, Clint, I know you touched upon Kellen Mond, but what have you kind of learned about him from what you maybe didn't know before until you saw him in person and that sort of thing during spring drills?
You can only get to know someone so well in the draft prep. You only have so many interviews with them, and this time of year was a Zoom interview. Here's what I learned about Kellen Mond. He's a hard worker and he loves football. Football is his life, and he's gonna kill himself before he's not prepared for practice or a meeting. So I appreciate that about him. You're not going to coach that into somebody. It's something that's built into them by their coaches and by their parents, and he has the work ethic and the want to get better. Now we just got to go give him some repetition with his teammates to help him expedite that process.
Courtney.
Mike Zimmer said yesterday when he was talking about like pass protection that it's important to protect Kirk from inside out and that he does so much better when he has a clean pocket. How do you evaluate how far the interior guys have come this spring, and how do you feel about that group?
Yeah, it's really hard because of the tempo we've gone at this spring. I will say this, that Rick Dennison and Phil Rauscher spent the whole offseason studying those things and how to make us better there. So it's something that we're aware of. But it comes from the players. Those guys stepping up, and our guards have looked excellent this spring. They're really putting in the work. The new guys and the guys that are coming back. Ezra has improved. Dakota has improved. Okay, Wyatt has come a long way in his time here. Drew Samia has really looked good coming into camp. And I know I'm missing some guys, but really impressed with those guards. And there's guys even like Ole that can play guard, but there's a lot of competition, and that's the main thing that's going to make them better, is having to compete and see who's going to get that spot. And the great thing is I think there's more than one candidate that can do those jobs. So we're in a really good spot.
Matthew, then Chris.
Hey, Clint. Mike Zimmer talked about trying to put you in a lot of situations during this OTA and minicamp. And I guess I wonder about how the communication has been with Mike and how you guys have sort of learned to work together here through OTAs and minicamp now that you're in this role.
I can't thank Coach Zimmer enough for what he's done for me this offseason, because he's put me in minicamp. He's put me in OTAs, in the situations he's put me in at the end of practice. And I really appreciate that. It puts you on the spot, make a call, and let's go with it. So he's given me some valuable repetition that I've needed. And as far as the daily communication, we're talking every day, and his expectations are clear, and I just appreciate the upfront communication. And we're going to do our best to complement the defense and just play complementary football all around.